the community of UCT left reeling by a runaway fire that engulfed several buildings in its Rondebosch campus. The blaze erupted on Sunday morning, we're told, and also destroyed some local landmarks, including a Rhodes Memorial restaurant, as well as the iconic Mostert Mill at UCT. Parts of the library and some student residents were also gutted. Staff and students have now been evacuated to safety, and the university has announced that there will be no classes at least for the next 2 days. For an idea of what else is being thought about, we're bringing now the Vice-Chancellor of UCT, Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng, who joins us now via our video link. Prof, great to see you, great to chat to you, great to see that you're also safe. Thanks very much for your time. You know, UCT has been the site of pretty historic, I'd say, tectonic shifts over the past 5 years. 2015 saw Rhodes must fall. 2016 saw fees must fall. That kind of extended into 2017. This has all been taking place amid an ongoing discussion around transformation at the university. A fire like this is undoubtedly the last thing you need.
It is. But you know, it's as devastating as it is. I'm amazed at how the team rose to the challenge and what we managed to do just yesterday. Because the fire didn't start on our campus, started outside, and it got to campus unexpectedly. So as devastating as it is, I'm sure there'll be a silver lining. I am convinced that we will recover, we will rise stronger. And sometimes these kinds of challenges bring the best out of us.
Yeah, I saw you tweeting earlier this morning that it seems all students have now been accommodated. I imagine the same is also true for staff members. Tell me what becomes your next biggest concern then in the wake of that?
I mean, what we're doing today is we're going to be starting the assessment of the extent of the damage. We've been in contact with our insurers. Of course, we have suspended all classes, tutorial, lab works, tests for today and tomorrow, and also generally access to campus. So the Premier will come onto campus as well, so that we do the assessment together, because we are of course part of the city. And the special collections library, that's our biggest concern at the moment. You know, we want to see how much is the damage. We are glad that it didn't spread, the fire didn't spread to the rest of the library. It's just the special collection, but that's a very special, the African Studies collection, which has got about 3,500 African film collection, and part of the government publication collection, and several collections that we're still been working on. So we want to see what's the extent, and how ready will the campus be for people to come back, because it's one thing to stop the fire, but the smog, we don't want people to be coming into a space where there's smog and it's not healthy. So the safety of our students and staff is paramount. So we'll be assessing that today and tomorrow. So we'll keep releasing communiques to our students and staff. And of course, we're mobilizing funding. We're going to need a lot of support to recover. Some of our residences are damaged, so we're not sure whether students will be able, for example, to go back to Fuller and Smuts. We'll be checking that today. And if they're not, we'll need alternative accommodation for the students.
Yeah.
So all of that, we'll have a sense of it today.
Right. You know, for people who understand the geography of UCT, the damage leaves a few questions, at least if you don't understand how the fire has spread. I understand if this information is not available to you, but for instance, for the fire to get to the Special Collections building, it must have somehow been able to skip through the Snape building, which is much closer to the slopes of the mountain. There's also the Sarah Baartman Hall, which is adjacent to it. Do you have any understanding of how the fire actually spread around to the different buildings? Because even Fuller House, in between the Special Collections Library and Fuller House, I think is the arts block, and I haven't seen any images of that necessarily being damaged in any way. Are you aware how the fire has spread?
You know, the difficulty is the wind. I mean, if you lived in Cape Town, you'll know how the wind operates. So when you have fire spreading, obviously I'm not a specialist in fire and how it spreads, but how fire operates is that you've got smoke, you've got wind, you know, the smoke goes everywhere, and then if you have wind that blows it up, and then suddenly fire starts where you thought there was no fire. And then it catches you. You have a tree, and the tree starts, like, for example, the tree that's in the middle of a smart hall, apparently it's all burnt down. But not all the rooms are burnt down. Some of the rooms are damaged, some are not. So we'll see how. But that could only be the fact that, I mean, the fire comes from the mountain. So some of the things, you know, some of the smoke comes flying around onto the dry tree or whatever. So we'll understand the scientific nature of that when we look at it today. But I understand it's from the smoke that then gets blown by the wind and then catches fire. I mean, you know, even now, I mean, you don't know. As long as there's a little bit of smoke that's not completely dead, wind comes, it can you know, become a flame very quickly.
Of course. Let's speak then about the impact this is likely to have on the academic program as a whole. Anecdotally, I can gauge the concern of even mostly postgraduate students who kept some of their theses in the special collections section of the library, or at least were using a lot of the documents there to complete their studies. How much thought is given into trying to understand what happens next for them?
Well, much of the work is digitized, so I would imagine. I mean, we'll assess the full extent of the damage today, but much of the work would be digitized. I mean, the damage to the special collections, you know, will be felt for a very long time, because that's very special, not only to students but to staff for the research. I mean, even during the lockdown, some of the things, the special library was one of the things that staff and students were really asking us to open it before anything else, because that's where they do their work. I mean, I'm concerned to see what's happened, the damage to the botany building, for example.
Yeah.
Because we, you know, we also want students to be able to do work there. So we you know, there may be damage, and we will have to work with other universities. We'll have to make the most of what we have. Much of we are insured, of course, but it's certain things you cannot replace. You know, it's as simple as that. In the special collection, it's not so easy. So yeah, in that regard, research students will be disadvantaged for a while. But in terms of going back to classes and the normal workings, I mean, as I said, we'll use today and tomorrow to assess whether it is possible that we can go back, because some students have been doing work online, but for some departments and faculties, there's been face-to-face teaching as well. So we have to assess whether the buildings actually people can sit in them and work, and so we'll be working on that today and tomorrow.
Right.
By 12 midday tomorrow, we'll be able to say we will have already announced what happens to the academic program Wednesday forward.
Right. Many parents will be watching our exchange with their children top of mind. I'm thinking mostly of first-year students in particular, but also those who are in Cape Town and UCT specifically for the first time. What's your message to them about what you're prioritizing at this time?
Parents need to know that their children are our children. I promised them when they brought children to UCT that I'm their deputy mother. I was there with them last night. We've accommodated them in hotels. We've made sure that they are comfortable. Thanks to the gift of the givers for their support and all the other corporates that have supported us to make sure that the students are safe and sound. It was for a period whilst we evacuated them, it was scary for many of them. Whilst they were waiting at Hidden Campus or at the Mowbray Hotel, some of them were a little worried, but you know, the sub-wardens and the wardens and all the other UCT staff and volunteers were very much there. The safety of our students is paramount. So parents should not worry. I mean, I'm sure I'm sure your daughters and sons, your bundles of joy, have already communicated with you as to which hotels they are in. Keep them calm. Don't necessarily call them home. Things will go back to normal. They will not starve. We have McDonald's, Woolies, and Pick n Pay and Engine that have come on board to assist us, gift of the givers as well. So they will be fed, and until we are able to go back to campus. So just relax. We're getting towards the end of the first term, and it's important that they are kept calm, because the second term, of course, will bring them closer to the end of the semester. So we need to work together to keep them calm and relaxed, rather than more scared. Things are controlled at the moment.
Of course, it goes without saying that their safety is the topmost priority. But after that, a lot will be wondering what happens to the belongings that some students have lost. To your knowledge, how far does the cover for the insurance at UCT actually extend? Do you imagine it also being able to recover some of the personal belongings of the students who kept some of those things in buildings that have now been gutted, buildings, of course, that belong to the institution itself?
Yes, no, we are fully insured. Every student is insured. Our buildings are insured. And we met with our insurer yesterday. So that is not a worry at this stage. Obviously, sentimental stuff is not easy to replace, but I can assure you that our insurance will kick in and will manage all of that.
Right. UCT Vice-Chancellor, Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng, thanks once again for your time. And of course, our thoughts and prayers are certainly with you and the rest of the community at UCT as you try really to build your lives back again after that fire that caused extensive damage to some parts of that institution.